So last fall, Montana was awarded $500,000 for planning grant for the Headwaters Tech Hub. It's one of the things I'm very proud of that the Montana Chamber played a big part in, and a lot of that was through all of the efforts and time that Matt Olson spent as our member that worked on this. 1 out of 31 total nation designations came to Montana. One of 4 rural tech hubs, and the sole Photonics Tech Hub, which is pretty exciting. So please welcome Britt Fontenot, Director of Economic Development and Community Relations for the City of Bozeman, and he will be leading the Montana Photonics panel.
Good morning. Good morning. Nice to be here. Thank you for having us here. So, fellow Montanans, esteemed guests, and technology enthusiasts, welcome to a brief journey into the fascinating origins of photonics in Montana. Now, this story begins with Montana's unique blend of natural beauty and culture deeply rooted in exploration and discovery. The convergence of academia and industry and local government support provided a ripe ecosystem for the growth and maturation of this industry. Today, researchers and entrepreneurs are drawn to the state's open spaces and collaborative atmosphere, fostering an environment where ideas can flourish. Commitment to pushing the boundaries of what is possible has positioned Montana as a leader in photonics. Has positioned Montana as a leader in photonics research and application. And today, Montana Photonics stands as a testament to the power of partnership, of innovation, and the pioneering spirit that defines our state. The legacy of Montana Photonics continues to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers and entrepreneurs who are pushing the boundaries of photonics and shaping the technology frontier. So that's just to provide a little bit of context for what we're talking about today. I'd like to make some brief introductions to this distinguished panel. To my immediate right is Dr. Joseph Shaw. Dr. Shaw is the director of the Optical Technology Center, or OPTEC, and is a distinguished professor at Montana State University in Bozeman. Dr. Shaw is a fifth-generation Montanan who grew up in Alaska and returned to Montana in 2001 to help grow the optics and photonics community. He earned his PhD in optical sciences from the world-famous College of Optical Sciences at the University of Arizona. Dr. Shaw is internationally renowned and respected and a decorated expert in the field of photonics and optics. In 2015, Dr. Shaw received an award for excellence from the University Economic Development Association for his leadership of OPTEC, which serves as a technological and economic engine, helping to establish more than 36 optics and photonics companies across Montana. In the middle here, I'd like to introduce Mr. Keegan Durfee. Keegan is from Big Timber, Montana, and is currently finishing his 2-year associate's degree from the Photonics and Laser Technology program at Gallatin College in Bozeman. Keegan's interest in a high-tech career has grown over the years, and today he feels that he is in the right place at the right time as the photonics and optics industry in Montana is expanding rapidly, as are the opportunities that this sector creates. While completing his degree, Keegan is currently employed at Vision Aerial in Bozeman and feels very confident that he has the knowledge and the opportunity to succeed in a career in photonics and optics in his home state of Montana. And then finally, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jason Yeager, who is an experienced photonics and optics industry leader with a diverse background spanning various sectors and knowledge areas. And as a proud Montana native, Jason earned his Master's of Science degree in physics, focusing on photonics from Montana State University. Currently, Jason is the Chief of Operating Officer at Vision Aerial, a Montana company specializing in designing and manufacturing industrial uncrewed aerial systems. Additionally, Jason also serves as the Executive Director of the Montana Photonics and Quantum Alliance, or MPAC. The MPAC serves as a central hub for Montana Photonics and quantum companies, creating a globally recognized ecosystem that supports growth in high-quality jobs and economic development across the state. And he serves on the steering committee for the newly created Montana Headwaters Tech Hub. So I'd like to welcome our distinguished guests, and I'd like to start with Dr. Shaw. Joe, can you tell our audience here, how did photonics get started in Montana?
Thank you, Britt. It's really a pleasure to be here with you all today. I know it's at the end of your two-day thing, and so we'll try to keep it interesting. Montana is a big player right now in the world of photonics, and that may have creeped up on you. I've had many people in recent years tell me that it's Montana's best-kept secret. I think the secret is out now, and we're making a splash on the national and even international stage. But how did we get here? In 1960, the laser was invented. Just a short time after that, I was born. And then just a short time after that, my father graduated from Montana State College in those days with an engineering degree, and he did like a lot of high-tech engineers and scientists, and he left Montana to pursue his career elsewhere because there weren't really any opportunities for him here. In 2001, I came back, but now let's go back and trace those origins. How did I find an opportunity to come back and do what I want to do, which is lasers and optics, here in Montana? In 1974, MSU hired a professor of physics named Rufus Cohn, and he was a specialist in lasers, which were only 14 years old as a technology at that time. He started teaching some students, and as soon as the early 1980s, as you can see in the chart that we have up on the screen, 1980 I like to call the Big Bang. That's when the first company came to Montana in the photonics space. That was started by an engineer from a graduate of MSU and another physicist from Sandia National Lab, and they wanted to come to a nice place to raise their families and run a new business. Throughout the 1980s, another 4 or 5 or 6 companies were founded, all by people who were graduates of MSU coming back, or in one case, a person who discovered how nice a place we had and just came here to have the quality of life. They all positioned themselves in the vicinity of MSU in Bozeman because they wanted to have the engineering workforce and they wanted to have collaborations with the faculty members who were there. In the early 1990s, a physics professor named John Carlston wrote a proposal and got $1 million. And what he did with that $1 million is he positioned 4 faculty members to do collaborative projects with 4 startup companies in the Bozeman area. And the idea was, let's try to help these fledgling companies, and let's try to maybe create a few jobs so that not everybody has to leave and go elsewhere. I don't think John had any idea of this curve, what it was going to grow into. He thought, in fact, I know he doesn't because he's told me. He told me, I thought we'd create a few jobs, and now here we are, we've got all these companies, we've got more than 40 companies today. Most of those companies were founded by our graduates who earned a PhD in physics or engineering and had high technology ideas that they went out to commercialize. Those companies are spread around Montana, but heavily clustered in Bozeman because they need the collaborations with the university. What came out of John's proposal in the early 1990s, one of the main things was the creation of a center, which is think of it as an umbrella that pulls together the people that do lasers and optics. And that's called the Optical Technology Center, or OPTEC. And that's the organization that I've been now directing for 20 years. The years creep up on us. And he also hired 4 new faculty, and I'm one of those. And so it was an opportunity created by somebody noticing that there was something starting to happen, and then they fanned the flames. And I want to mention that John met the company person that he collaborated with on the ski hill. So don't forget the importance of going to the ski hill.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for that really brief summation of the beginning of optics and photonics in Montana. And you mentioned the idea of creating a few jobs, and I'd like to take that idea of workforce and kind of run with that a little bit and turn it over to Jason and talk. And if you wouldn't mind, talk a little bit about the workforce development that you've been a part of, and why that's important to, as we think about the Tech Hub. Why is workforce development and starting now an important task?
Sure, thank you, Britt. Well, As a graduate of Montana's workforce development program myself, I have a unique view of what we have done over the last 20, 25 years, and it's changed dramatically. So MPAC was founded in 2013, just over 10 years ago, by a group of industry members who said, we want to grow this ecosystem. We want to help these companies grow. Kind of like two sides of the same coin. We have OpTech on the academic side, and we have MPAC on the industry side, partnering together with Joe. And I think, Joe, this makes, what, the 12th presentation we've done together in the last 3 months?
I hope to do many more.
So with that workforce, we went out to our community and we asked, okay, what are your barriers to growing your company here in Montana? And we came up with 4 areas of focus initially. One was networking. We're all busy running our companies, but we want to get together and leverage the assets we have in our community. 2 was training. 3 was business development and really marketing, branding, getting Montana on the map nationally, globally. And the 4th, and the most important, was workforce development. Companies struggled to hire people and grow. Now, when we look at this chart, and this is exciting, it's exponential. But one thing this chart does not say, over the last 30 years, not a single company from Montana has closed shop and left. Quite the opposite. There are companies on this chart now that are in the billion-dollar range that have closed other sites in other states and moved their manufacturing to Montana because there's an advantage for doing business in Montana. As the governor likes to say, Montana is open to business. Maybe some of you have heard that before. We'll talk about that advantage a little bit more here in a bit. But with workforce, that was a need. And it's not just at one level. It's a spectrum. Yes, we need PhD students graduating from programs like Joe Shaw's. Yes, we need 4-year degrees in engineering, in electrical engineering, optical engineering, but we also need technicians. And that was one area that we really struggled with. At the time, I was an operations manager for a French company called Quantel, and we were recruiting our technicians from Texas, California, Indiana, because we couldn't find the resources here. So we said, what can we do to address this? And this was my first role on the MPAC board at the time, is youth outreach. So we got a group together, 23 industry members, and we went and toured schools across the state, focusing on 8th grade, early high school. And we told them about the exciting things here, and we had to explain one thing, and maybe I'll take a step back here. We'd asked the students one question. What is photonics? Do you know what photonics is? Okay, let me ask you guys. Raise your hand if you know what photonics is. Matt, raise your hand if you know what photonics is. I have 1, 2, 3. Oh, Matt, it's killing me not to do it, but I'll go ahead and pass. Joe, what is photonics?
Photonics is the combination of optics, the science and technology of light, and electronics. So laser systems, the camera in your iPhone or whatever phone you have, a lot of the sensors on your car, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So photonics. So we tried to explain this to young people, and it was great. We talked to almost 700 young people that first year, but it wasn't scalable. So then the next year as a board, we said we need to do more. So we put together, I'm going to call them industry kits that we could then give to teachers. And we sent 60 of those around the state, encouraging science teachers to share this. That was great. Still wasn't enough. So we partnered with the Montana Science Center and helped raise $120,000 to do a photonics exhibit display at the Science Center. Great progress again. Same problem. Still not enough. So then our president at the time for MPAC, Trenton Berg, partnered with 2 other industry companies, and we put together a curriculum, and we approached the community college and said, can we start a tech program? So we brought the teachers, we brought the curriculum, and we helped write a grant to get the community college program started 8 years ago. And I am ecstatic to say, in that program, they've had 100% placement locally before the students graduate. And we have one of them here today.
Great, Jason. Thank you. You set me up well for that one. Thank you. So, Keegan, would you mind talking a little bit about what the Photonics Technician Program means to you, and what do you see as the future in that industry for technicians that are getting trained like yourself?
Yeah. So the program at Gallatin College really helps provide a very specific skill set, thanks to Jason and the others that work with him. But to me, it's an excellent way for students who are looking for perhaps a quicker path or a more affordable path into the workforce right out of college. And like he was saying, the internship placement is very, very good. I was fortunate enough to get an internship with Jason at Vision Aerial, and I've really enjoyed it. And the curriculum continues to change constantly. Like I've talked to some of my own professors and several other people at the college, people I work with, that are constantly changing the little bits and pieces of the curriculum to meet the needs of companies in Bozeman and abroad. There's something like 40 tech companies? Yeah, 40 plus tech companies in just the Gallatin Valley area. So the hopes for placement in a job following graduation are very high for all of us in the program. So.
And as someone from Montana, from Big Timber, as I mentioned earlier, from a ranching family there, staying in Montana and pursuing your career is, I imagine, a very important combination for you. And so the opportunity to do that is really wonderful. And as we were talking on the way up here, we were just chatting about the intersection between photonics and technology and ranching and agriculture. Maybe you want to just kind of shed a little light on how what that intersection might mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So. My family manages a cattle ranch a little north of Big Timber. And one of the problems we've had over the years is we tend to lose some animals every now and then, whatever it might be. And the hard part is going out and finding those animals. They might be in a hazardous area. It might not be accessible via horse or four-wheeler or anything like that. So one of the solutions that my dad talked to me about, and he got into contact with people with drones and cameras in order to do a flyover of the ranch in order to locate any animals that might have been missing. So having the ability to use an infrared camera on something that you can just fly over the entire ranch and look for animals is it's pretty spectacular. So.
Great, thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting. So I'd like to talk a little bit about, we've talked about the past, a little bit about the present, and now I'd like to talk a little bit about the future in our remaining time. And so, Jason, I'll turn to you. Actually, I'll go to you. Well, Jason, yeah, I'll start with you, if you don't mind. So how has impact influenced the growth of the photonics sector in Montana? You've mentioned some of the evolution of impact. And if you could just dive into a little bit more detail about how many companies are a part of impact and how many employees are a part of those companies, roughly?
Sure. Impact is now approaching 50 members. We have over 1,000 people working directly in the state in optics, photonics, and quantum. And in addition to that, another 5,500 in supporting functions, other related jobs, adjacent positions. So we're approaching 7,000 now. Our EDA Tech Hub that we're looking at right now, we're working on our phase 2. We have a great team around that. Our hope is to add another 25,000 jobs over the next 10 years. Part of success, somebody told me here recently, and I think Mark Sharp might be in the room, is that success is hard work, dedication, being willing to put in the extra time, being smart. But about 50% is being in the right time at the right place and willing to take risk. Montana, we are in the right place at the right time. And if there is a time to strike while the iron's hot, we were talking about that on the write-up today, now is that time. MPAC just became a 501c3 here a few months ago. I resigned from the board last month and took an official role as the executive director in December. The excitement is abounding, and we're getting That Montana Advantage that we mentioned is getting worldwide recognition. So currently from Gallatin Valley, we have optical devices on all 7 continents, orbiting the Earth in space, orbiting Venus, Mercury, and Mars, and multiple devices on the surface of Mars. The technology that's being developed here in Montana is not just changing the local landscape, it's changing the international landscape. Just last month, I got a call from a colleague in Europe saying, Jason, we'd like to do a space-based LiDAR conference. And we contacted NASA, and they've agreed. Would you be willing to host this in Montana? I said, let me talk to my board. That's a big ask. So sent that back, and he goes, and we'll pay for it all. I said, yes. So November 2025. In addition to that, we're going to host another international conference in 2026. The first one should have about 200 people. The next one will have about 600-700 people. So that recognition is happening. So the future for Montana is very bright. Now, EDA, there's a lot happening. I think if you ask Mary Craigle, she has a countdown that she publishes almost daily. I think we have 29 business days to submit a proposal for $70 million. I can tell you that Montana Advantage that we have is setting us apart. Mary just shared this last week that the Headwaters Tech Hub is being used as an example by the EDA of what right looks like. We asked Mary how many people are currently working on this proposal. We have over 100 people across the state of Montana and some outside the state partnering with us to write this $70 million grant. Now this grant is just 1 year too. It is renewable for up to 10 years. This is a huge opportunity, but this isn't the only opportunity. Just last month, MSU won a $27 million quantum grant to do quantum communications awarded by the Air Force. This brings the total for MSU to roughly about 120, 130 million over the last 3 years. Next year, they're going to apply for another 40 million, and they have a planning grant to apply for $160 million at the end of 2024. So we have a lot of funds coming in. So that's exciting. We have brand recognition nationally. We were just with the governor on our tour of Taiwan. This Montana Advantage is positioning us to do something great. And I'll just wrap up with this. What does this advantage look like? I think all of us in the room know that Montana has a unique workforce. We have smart, hardworking people. This is not the norm everywhere. We can leverage that. 2, we have collaboration. We have our governor who did the trade mission to Taiwan, which had a Photonics delegation on it just last month. We have Senator Steve Daines, who serves on the Congressional Caucus of Optics and Photonics. We have Senator Tester helping to promote and drive the CHIPS Act. And effectively, our new regional innovation officer just resigned from his staff on Friday of last week. Friday of this week. I get a little confused. Tim Van Rieken, a lot of things are moving quickly. So we have government, and we also have local government, as Britt in the city of Bozeman partnering with us. We have academic, we have government, and we have industry partnered together, and really, we have everything we need. We have the recipe ready to go to explode and to be a major player on the world front.
Thank you, Jason. That is really exciting. And I'd like to end our discussion this morning with Joe about the Headwaters Tech Hub and the designation and kind of what it means broadly. So the importance of photonics inside of that. So what is the importance of photonics as an industry to that creation of that Tech Hub?
The Tech Hub process that's an opportunity created by the CHIPS and Science Act, and it's all about commercialization of technologies. We've already got a head start, as you've heard from all of us, and we're not newcomers to this game. We've been doing it for more than 30 years. But we can do it at a whole new level now, hopefully enabled by the Phase 2 funding that we're going after. One of the biggest things that I want to see come out of this is to spread the benefits of photonics out from the Gallatin Valley statewide. That's one of our major goals of the Tech Hub, is to take this economy that's become so important in Bozeman and make it important in every place that you're from also. either directly or indirectly, because like Jason said, there's many people that work adjacent to our industry. The core technology is smart photonic sensors. So what that means is, you might have heard in the news things like LiDARs, which is a word that means laser radar. You send out light and you look at the bounce back copy of that light and you determine the distance to something, and you can learn about the shape of something. And these LiDARs have many, many things that they can do for us. Some of the things that you hear in the news these days is self-driving cars. Well, there are companies in Montana working on self-driving cars. There's a company in Montana working on self-driving vehicles for off-road use. And that can have huge benefits in ranching, in agriculture, and in mining, and all these things that might be staples of the economy in your town. And so we want to bring this technology and benefit the entire state of Montana. This is where I live because this is where I wanted to live, like I told you when I opened up. And I think all of you want to be here too. And we want our children and our grandchildren to have that opportunity. That's what this is all about.
Thank you, Joe. We have maybe 2 minutes, so are there any perhaps we can take a question or two? Any questions about the Tech Hub or photonics as an industry or workforce? Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you, Charles. Hello, my name is Don Sturhan from Billings, and this is fascinating. It's a new world for me. I'm curious, though, about how are the companies themselves formed and financed? Are you venture capital? Are you nonprofit in some regards? Or could you tell us a little bit more about the structure of your business model?
I can take that. Jason might have more to say, but I'll give a brief answer. It's all over the map. The earliest ones were started by PhD graduates who were mostly funding their efforts through small business innovative research grants. And they would work part-time at the university, part-time at the company, and then transition out of the university into the company. That model is okay, but there's other models, as you suggested. And in more recent years, we've seen a lot more venture capital come into Montana and start spreading around. And so the model is starting to change and in that direction. Jason, do you want to add to that?
I'll just add some numbers. I heard from a venture cap here in the state that between 1995 and 2015, there was less than $100 million of venture cap in the state of Montana. From 2015 to 2021, there was over $1 billion of venture cap. I know where quite a bit of that went.
Thank you, Jason. And I think we've come to the close of our time. So I'd just like to thank everyone for your interest in our topic this afternoon, and thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness, if this did not bring together the entire conference on how change is the one constant and it's happening quicker and quicker, this panel right here, I think, just brings it to fruition. So thank you so much to our panelists. We are going to take a quick 15-minute break while lunch is getting set, but we would really appreciate everybody to be back in their seats in a timely manner to respect Governor Gianforte's time and to get you all on the road as the weather gets colder. So thank you, and we'll be back in 15 minutes.